What's up, everybody? It's Ravi, owner of CSF Radiators, and today is an exciting day. It's the last day of May, and we got the CSF Evo X back. It's been a few months since the car caught on fire. Last time we were driving it in November at Global Time Attack Finals. It's been at Afterhours Garage with Brian Kono. He's been doing all the fabrication work. After the fire, what we wanted to do was improve on the car. This car has put us through a lot. We've been building on it and transforming it over the last 4 years, and we learned a lot from those few test sessions that we did have before the car caught on fire. So now, the car's back from fabrication. We've done a ton in the interior, a ton in the back aero, and we're gonna strip the car down. We're gonna take it to paint. It's gonna be a whole new look. Our goal is to try to get this back on the track in the next couple months. So right now we're at MotoIQ. Car just got dropped off. And we're gonna take a look at it with the guys from MotoIQ and Brian from Afterhours, and we're gonna show you guys what everything's been done. Brian, you've been a big instrumental part on this build, about halfway through when we decided to go from show car into competitive race car. The guys at MotoIQ spoke super highly about your work, and it definitely shows. You were there at the track with us when the car caught on fire. You've kind of seen all the things that needed to be changed and adjusted plus fixed. Why don't you show us everything that you've done?
All right.
You want to start on the inside?
Sure.
Cool, let's do that. So let's open the door. All I know is it looks fucking awesome. And this kind of like blew away whatever I thought you were doing. You changed a lot of stuff, and it's technically like a retrofit of what was there. Yeah. So I didn't know if it was just gonna look more pieced together or kind of like, Band-Aid on top, as you would say, but that's definitely not what it is. I mean, this looks like it came this way. So
yeah, so I re-engineered the whole thing. We took out the stock brakes, the stock pedals. We put in individual master cylinders, so it's like a real race car. And then we can kind of take it apart so you can look at it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I remember one of the things that Michael Essa, the driver of the car, had mentioned was you wanted like steering column adjustability, being able to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
When we originally had it, it was just a fixed column.
Exactly.
And that I know is a lot of the work that you did. I mean, it looks awesome.
Yeah, so what I did was I made it so the column can tilt and telescope and tilt this way too, so it's three-way adjustable.
Wow.
So if you loosen these right here, the column can tilt upwards. Oops. Can tilt upwards like that. Also, if you loosen these, the steering wheel will...
Oh, damn. That's proper.
The master cylinder assembly, the Tilton master cylinder assembly, really nicely made. Sweet, it's all billet and stuff. So what I did was I built this bracket that bolts into the car so it's serviceable. So if anything happens, we can take this whole assembly out. It's not welded in, you know what I mean? And I made a variety of mounting holes, so then the whole pedal assembly can move back and forth 2 inches. I also built a dead pedal on the side.
Yeah.
And that's also adjustable. We have an adjustable Tilton bias knob here for the brake bias. We put in a fire system because it caught on fire.
Yeah, because it caught on fire. That's one of the first things that we needed.
That's very important right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have the Safecraft chemical fire suppression. Also, I put the master cylinder reservoirs right there because the guy bleeding the brakes sitting inside is doing nothing. So he might as well do something and fill the reservoirs.
No, that looks awesome, and it all just looks so like finished well together. Even though this is like a second part of the car. I mean, everything looks awesome. It's coated nicely. All the controls are super accessible, from the driver, from the cool suit to the fire suppression system. The little knob for the brake bias underneath the electrical controller.
Yeah, that's critical. I mean, the driver's compartment, the driver has to be able to do everything. And it has to be adjustable to fit exactly the driver, because the more comfortable he is, the faster he's going to be.
Yeah, definitely. Anything else in the front or in the driver's compartment that you did, or do we kind of wrap that all up?
I think that's about it.
Awesome. Let's go to the back and talk about the aero.
All right. Cool. So the last time we were at the track, we built a splitter, and then we flat bottomed the car, and we had the diffuser but we had just a small, like a streetcar wing on it.
Yeah, definitely.
So there was definitely not enough rear downforce. So Verus made us this wing, which is going to give us some crazy downforce. They give you dimensions for the holes on the top, but they don't give you any wing stays. So I had to design those and have them CNC machined out of billet aluminum.
Just going back to what we had on the car, we had just, you know, off-the-shelf APR wing with some uprights that was just trunk mounted on the top.
Exactly.
You know, now we've gone to this chassis mounted system. We kind of knew last time we tested it that the rear wing aero wasn't going to balance out what was going on in the front.
Yeah.
But, you know, for budget constraints, for time constraints of just wanting to get the car out and test, we just said, let's just go with it and see how it does. So, you know, it was one of those items that we knew had to happen. And when the car was going to get rebuilt, it was definitely on the list. The guys at Verus came through with this awesome custom sized wing. You know, they worked a lot with Mike from MotoIQ to, you know, position everything where it needed to be. And you really took it home with these awesome CNC machined uprights. I mean, it's
a really nice piece. The carbon work and everything from Verus is really nice.
Yeah, no, those guys do a really good job. If you don't know who they are, you know, they're super niche aero carbon company, but I personally think it's top of the game stuff.
Yeah,
you know,
and when I talked to them about building the uprights, they were really easy to work with. The guys, you know, gave me ideas on how to make things, and it was great. Yeah,
nice. And then I see that you've relocated the fuel filler also.
Yeah, the fuel filler was way inside the trunk, which was difficult. Now you can just take the cap off here.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know,
and then fill the fuel.
That's the way to do it. You know, we can do push fills. If anybody ever saw us filling up before, the fuel tank filler was all the way in the back of the trunk, and we were sitting there trying to hold the fuel jugs and all that stuff. So, you know, this is just another item that really kind of shows people, you know, we're really serious about taking this from what it is as, you know, a show car, hybrid race car into a full-blown competition class vehicle. There's probably a lot to see after we take this trunk
so
off.
we'll take the tech lid off. So I utilized the stock latch on the bottom with these aero catches up on top.
That's a real deal right there.
Yeah, so I fabricated this because I know they're going to be resting the fuel can on it. It's like really rigid.
Wow, that looks awesome.
Yeah, this is like a marine/aircraft hose, fireproof and alcohol fuel proof.
You think we can take these off? Because I know the chassis uprights are in there too, right? I want people to see that, you know, this is a chassis mounted wing, and, you know, it's, you know, all the downforce that you're going to create with this massive wing.
Yeah, it goes really straight to the chassis. Yeah.
Brian, how many hours do you think you put into it since you got the car back, since after the fire?
Lots. A lot of the hours too aren't really billable. It's all the design work and all that. Yeah. Because you really have to think about how you're going to do it. You know, how was I going to put the deck lid back on, make it serviceable? But I want it to look good too, because when it looked good, it's faster. But it needs to be serviceable though too, because you know, like if it's not, well, how I design everything is within mind that I'm going to probably be the guy working on it also. You know, I don't want to be mad.
Yeah,
because
like, why did I build it this way?
Because some dummy designed it wrong.
You know, and I think, you know, as you and I have gotten to know each other, man, it seems like a year and a half now since we started working together.
Yeah.
And it's something I always told Martin and Mike at MotoIQ. You know, you guys come from pure function race car worlds. And I admire your work of wanting to make it look good, because, you know, it's a testament to your work, right? Nobody wants to have the most functioning thing that doesn't look that great, because I guess it's harder to appreciate that way. And for us that took a race car or a show car and wanted to turn it into a race car, you know, we still want people to remember that this was a, you know, award-winning magazine cover car. So we still want it to look that way.
Exactly. We're talking about serviceable, and then this thing takes a long time to paint.
Yeah, this is bitching. I had no idea.
Yeah, and then these panels were so nice too. I wanted to make sure that we could use them again. We just had to modify them a little bit, and then, you know, to make them so they fit back in here. All right, so there. All
Yeah, make it sound like it took this long.
Yeah, make it look like it was just 2 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to time lapse that thing.
Serviceable.
Well, you don't have to service those wing uprights. That's all welded together. But that goes right down to the rail.
Nice.
Makes the force from the wing go right to the chassis, so like it's supposed to be.
It's awesome. And you know, it's just like that extra step, even though it's covered by a panel, you still took the time to paint it.
Yeah.
You know, that's just awesome. So, yeah, I mean, the wing looks bitching, you know, the billet uprights, you know, it's one of those things that because it's painted black, people may not get it from far away, but when you look up and you see it closely, I mean, you see all the cutouts for weight reduction.
Yeah, it was thick aluminum, so I wanted to lighten it up.
Yeah.
And then if you lighten it up, you might as well make it look cool.
Yeah, definitely. No,
Yeah.
it looks really good, and we're excited to see how this runs and everything works once we get it back on the track.
Yep. Oh, and also the fire system, the bottle, should we show them that? Or
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, okay, all right.
Fire system's important, guys. The car's already caught on fire once,
Yeah.
so.
So anyway, the bottle's hidden down here.
Okay.
In the back.
A lot of people probably haven't seen a fuel system like this. You know, it's a fully custom carbon fiber fuel bladder that's built to the bottom of the car. So that's where all the connections for electrical, the pumps, everything is. You know, at our last race, we were having some problems with the fuel cutting out. So we have to diagnose what the electrical issue is, but also there were some mechanical parts that you fixed as well.
Yeah. What happened was this car was originally a
Pirelli
World Challenge car
Yeah.
with basically stock horsepower.
Yeah,
not
pretty much.
Not the horsepower that we're
Yeah,
running
definitely
now.
not a 700 horsepower.
Yeah.
You know, fully.
So we had to put in
car.
the dual AEM pumps,
Mm-hmm.
which, you know, each one is good for 700 horsepower, and they had it with the stock, or not the stock, but what they designed for World Challenge, which was to even out the fuel flow, you know, because it's an endurance car, right? So they want to get every drop of fuel out of it. So they had it teed into a -6 feed, which is not enough for these pumps. And that was causing the pumps to, one, overheat and overload them, and then causing the electrical to pop.
Yep.
And it was starving for fuel, because you could see it on the map, you know, after we pulled down the data log and stuff. So what I did was, number one is to keep this bladder, because the bladder's flexible, to keep it from falling down, we built these brackets right here that make it rigid. So then you get a constant height. And on the bottom of the fuel pumps, I built extensions with the filter socks on there to protect the pumps. So then they're like a ½ inch off the bottom, so we can get every drop of fuel. Not that it matters with time attack. But.
Well, I mean, it's super important. And then,
Yeah.
you know, you change the dash 6 connections to what? Dash 10s, right?
Dash 10, yeah. They're
So more
each
flow.
dash 10, yeah.
You know, and this is awesome because, you know, this is the type of stuff most people don't see, right? They see the outside of the car, they see how fast the car is, you know, maybe they've seen like a big fuel tank that you can just buy off the shelf and put in the trunk.
Exactly.
But they don't really see something with, you know, a custom carbon fiber fuel bladder and all the connections that go
Yeah,
into
well,
it.
and your expensive motor too
Yeah.
needs fuel.
Yeah.
And then if it starves for fuel, that causes engine damage.
And it was
Yeah,
crazy
that's-
because even since like the very first time we took it to Streets of Willow, I felt like we were filling up gas in the tank like every 3 laps. And it was
Yeah.
a full fuel bladder. And we were like, how are we burning so much fuel?
I don't think it was getting all the
I don't think it
fuel.
was getting all the
Yeah.
fuel either. So hopefully this fixes a lot of our fuel issues.
Yeah.
You know, when the car goes to Rywire, he's going to wire everything up, make sure it's running properly, and
Yeah.
it should be good enough to get us back out on track.
Yeah.
So, perfect. Ryan, I really appreciate all the work, and
no problem.
this looks awesome. You killed it. You did a great job.
All right.
Thanks, bud.
All right, man.
So we're here with Mike, one of the founders of MotoIQ. Mike, you've been in this industry a long time. You know, it's been a pleasure getting to know you through this whole experience. And, you know, this has kind of become like your Evo wet dream that I'm bankrolling. So, you know, you were the one who kind of came in when I said, hey, let's take this to be a competitive race car. And you started to give me these ideas of what we want to do for aero, what we needed to change in terms of engine setup and suspension setup. So let's talk about a couple of the things people might not even know about. You know, first thing I'm looking at is like the KW system, right? So go ahead, tell us about what they did and what you spec'd out.
Well, the prior shocks were pretty decent, but what I kind of didn't like about them, there was a lot of circuit bleed through between all the different adjustments. So if you adjusted low speed, it would affect everything else, or if you adjusted rebound, it would affect compression. And what I like about the KWs is that the circuits are a little bit more discrete, so it's like easier to dial in the car. And KWs are really good at small bump response, and we have a good rapport with them, so things like revalving and servicing we can get done really easy. So I really like how we use those and how we have them now. I mean, there's like a little like cool things like these quick releases. See, if you needed to service the valve pack, you don't have to depressurize the whole system. And, it's really nice. We're able to get revise your spring rates because we went a lot stiffer because of all the downforce we made.
Yep.
And a lot of the thing about that is, like with a heavy aero car, you have to maintain a stable platform for the aero to work right, and you have to maintain like a constant front height. Otherwise, you could stall the diffuser and lose downforce, and that happens in the middle of a high-speed turn. That's kind of hard for the driver to deal with.
For sure. So, you know, Custom Motorsports Kit by KW. Shout out to, you know, Frank and Chris for working with us to get that kit. It's a pretty pricey kit. I think the retail price on it is almost like $9 grand.
Yeah, 9 or 10 grand.
Yeah, 9 or 10 grand, and they gave us an awesome deal to get it on the car. So we really appreciate their support. Obviously, you know, elephant in the room that everybody knows is the car caught on fire. As you can see, some of the burn marks in the back towards the firewall. So the engine's been out. We realized that there was some like knock detonation that happened with the engine for reasons of fuel cuts and issues, you know, that maybe we didn't catch in time. So now that everything's out, the next plan is Howard, you know, Tech at MotoIQ. You guys are going to strip everything out of the engine bay. We're going to get the car over to Long at LTMW, and we're going to repaint the car. We're not telling anybody what we're going to do, so you guys will see it in one of the next episodes. And you know, we just want to refresh the look of the car because we want people to know it's different. You know, it was white, it was a show car, and when they see it next time, it's going to be totally different as a race car. So we're going to strip everything out. You guys are rebuilding the engine. We're waiting for some pistons to you know, finish that up, and hopefully we're going to be able to time this correctly, that when the engine's done, the car will be back in paint, and then you guys will be able to assemble everything back together, and then we're going to get it over to Rywire to do a lot of the fine tuning on the electrical and the fuel.
I think a lot of the detonation was probably due to the fuel pressure, and the way the fuel cell was, and there was a manifold for the fuel pumps that was really restrictive, and also like the bladder was collapsing and blocking the pickup. And then Brian fixed it, and, you know, now the hanger is properly suspended and everything, and the manifold's redone, so I don't think there's that restriction in the system. So hopefully we won't do that. And then we've done some revisions to the engine for better durability. You know, it's like kind of like a learning process because we're developing a lot of power from this 4V11 engine.
Yeah.
Like the bottom end, it's not as beefy and stuff, so we're like carefully kind of working up there to it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you don't see a lot of Evo 10 race cars, and that's for good reason. You know, as you mentioned, the engine doesn't have the strongest internals or the way it's built compared to the older one. But, you know, like you said, it's a learning experience. You know, we're all building this together, and we've had some ups and downs, and I'm excited to see what we can do in the next few months to get this back on the track. Hopefully things go the way we want, and then, you know, we'll get this over to the SEMA show. I
think the aero development is one of the more interesting things in the car, too. What we tried to do is get the basics, the basic aerodynamic basics, and execute them well. So there's certain things that, like in an engineering sense, you know are going to work, and the trade-offs aren't that bad. So if you see some of the other like pretty advanced time attack cars, there's little winglets and dividers and all that kind of stuff, but we didn't do that in your car because without the analytic tools, we don't actually know if they're doing anything or even hurting.
Yeah.
But what we did is basic aero principles, common sense, and we tried to execute it really well. And maybe some of the stuff we went for is not to try to make the most overkill, dirty downforce and just like shove it through the air with horsepower. We tried to do like something that's efficient and have minimal drag. I mean, if you see some of the other cars I'm involved with, like the Spoon Civic and Evasive 86. They all have like what looks like minimal aero, but it's really all like efficient, and we're trying to get the most we can out of a limited surface area, not have too much drag, so we don't have to crank up the power so much.
We're drawing off some people in this industry who have an amazing amount of experience. You know, you can't teach that. You've been around race cars for a long time. Brian's been around race cars for a long time. So the two of you guys really collaborating and developing the aero, where it was you know your guys' idea and Brian really executed it well. It's awesome when it's on the car. It looks bitchin', it works well, and you know that's all we can really ask for.
The budget for CFD and the custom molds can like probably be $100 grand to do like everything perfect, like maybe some of the Australian cars are, like how some of the Canadian cars are. There's like a lot of either trial, error, and testing or CFD going on there, and but you know, like I think this is kind of a show of what you could do with just the basic aerodynamic principles done correctly, and really eager to see how that works.
Well, I appreciate it, Mike. This is awesome. You know, a couple weeks or a week from now, this thing's going to be all stripped down, and we're going to get it over to LTMW, be able to do the paint work, and we'll have this car back here like towards the end of the month, and time to rebuild.
Yeah, and then really eager to get this back on the track.
Appreciate it, Mike. Thank you, bud.
All right, thank you.
Cheers, bud.